As always, we appreciate every one of you who subscribes to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, and follows us on social media, Instagram, NBA Sound System Canada, and YouTube, NBA Sound System Canada. And I think that we're here to fill the void that is left by Podcast P, who is stepping away from podcasting, in his words, to help the 76ers focus on their goal of reaching a championship. My buddy texted me and said, what championship is he talking about? What leagues I was like, maybe Rocket League. I don't know what championship he's talking about. The Sixers have lost 9 in a row at the time of recording. I think they've fallen at 20-37 on the season. We are awaiting what's going to happen with Joel Embiid. You and I have been talking all year about what's wrong with the 76ers, and they've had a lot of bad luck this season. Maybe Paul George putting the mic down for a little while fixes their problems. I don't think so, but what can we make of this whole circumstance? And also shout out to our guy, Steph No, actually had the stats. And Paul George actually plays better when he's podcasting than when he's not podcasting. So maybe he should pick the microphone back up. That being said, on a more serious note, what's going on with the Sixers and what do we think is going to happen with Joel Embiid?
Yeah, Sixers have been an absolute disaster from the start of the season. I mean, they were one of those teams, kind of like Milwaukee, that got off to a really slow start, and Milwaukee turned it around pretty quickly. But Philly, it just became evident that was not going to happen. You know, a big reason for that, Joel Embiid was very open and honest the last couple of weeks that he has not felt comfortable on his leg all season. And as much as people like to rag on him, give him a hard time for not playing consistently, not being in the lineup consistently, all these things, like if you just watched even one Sixers game, it's pretty obvious that Embiid did not fully trust his body. He wasn't going at full speed the way that we've seen him in the past. I mean, this is a guy that averaged, like 35 points per game 2 seasons ago, and he was never that this season. They also just were never able to get Maxey, PG, and Embiid on the floor at the same time, which the best ability is availability. And if your 3 best players aren't available, it's tough for people to, kind of, especially with a new teammate like Paul George, like tough to get everybody intertwined and on the same page. Jared McCain also was having an incredible rookie season, was probably the front runner for Rookie of the Year at the time. He suffered a season-ending knee injury as well. So, I think it's a balance of injury misfortune. Obviously, Embiid not being 100%, and then just the team really probably just isn't all that talented. Just even when everybody is healthy and available, like I just don't know if they had the talent to compete with the top teams in the East anyway, top teams in the NBA anyway. So, it's a tough situation in Philly. I would be absolutely shocked if the messaging that comes across tomorrow, we're recording on Thursday, I would be shocked if the messaging that comes across tomorrow is anything besides the Sixers shutting Embiid down for the rest of the season, because, I know you and I were going to get into it a little bit, but their first round pick is going to Oklahoma City if it falls outside of the top 6 this season. So they're, kind of playing with fire as is to be one of the bottom teams in the NBA in general. And, they're in a position right now, probably better off tanking, which is something that they definitely did not expect to be the case after they signed Paul George this offseason. But, the reality is that's where they're at, and they got to start losing games faster. Otherwise, they're going to lose that draft pick.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think as we record this right now, you talk about the standings, the Tankathon standings. I think they are right at 6th right now. 20-37 is a pretty bad record, honestly. And again, that losing streak definitely helps or got them to that position right now. And I'm not going to rag on them. Like, they have had a lot of misfortune this year, but it's something that you and I talked about when they got Paul George, right? Where, like, when he first had the knee injury during the preseason, they took a calculated risk on Paul George and Joel Embiid, 2 guys who have had difficulty staying on the court throughout their careers. And now that they're both on the other side of 30, Paul George 34, will be 35 soon. Joel Embiid is going to be 31 soon. We knew that they weren't going to get more durable as they got older. And I know that, the Sixers tried to figure out ways to preserve Joel Embiid as far as back-to-backs go, as far as load management goes. And again, like you said, people rag on him all the time, but there's been reports saying that he's just been receiving injections just to go on the floor and try to play. And the fact, like, everything he's putting his body through, and who knows what level of pain he was playing with during the Olympics with Team USA, but he played and he got that gold medal. I think a big part of that was for him to win something to kind of, again, dispel a lot of the narratives that he can't win at all. And who knows at what cost. And it's funny, people, again, gave him a hard time for saying, I think I could have been on a greatest of all time trajectory had it not been for the injuries. And then when you think about it, it's not that outlandish when he missed the first 2 years of his career due to foot injuries. He came back, played at a Rookie of the Year level. Meniscus injury cuts his rookie season to 31 games. So it's tough. Like you said, Friday, we're probably going to get more news. There's been talk about, Are they going to do something to restabilize his leg? Is he going to get the same thing that Lonzo Ball did? I know this is all speculation, and by the time you hear this, you might actually know the real answer. But whatever the solution is, if it is a season-ending solution, one that will help the ethical tank or whatever it is that they're trying to do to focus on their future, but also you wonder what it's going to mean for Joel Embiid, how long he's going to be sidelined, how much time he's going to miss for the 76ers team. And I think the best thing that could probably work for them is if they are able to miss the playoffs, retain their draft pick, and this is a very deep draft, answer a big need, add to their depth, and then you just hope that these guys are healthy next year. And even if that means they only play in 50 or 60 games, enough games to get across the finish line and get to the playoffs, that's the only goal. And the last thing I'll say is I saw this on Reddit today, and this could change by the time you hear this, but the 76ers have not won a game since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So probably a little sacrifice there from Philly fans. And I'm sure they wouldn't have it any other way. They probably would make that trade any day, but it's pretty wild to think that we're talking February 27th, and the Super Bowl was almost 3 weeks ago. Sixers haven't won a game since.
Yeah, that's really bad. I was looking at it the other day. They haven't lost this many games in a row since the process 76ers. And I was looking at that starting lineup. It was like Isaiah Cannon, Robert Covington, like Carl Landry. Like it was dark times for the Sixers. And, you know, like this is a team that the biggest concern has to be even if he has offseason surgery, even if Embiid, you know, takes the proper amount of time off, like, is he ever going to get back to the player that we saw a couple of years ago? Like, that's a legitimate concern they have to have right now. And at what point do you almost have to start the process over again? Like, you know, they got as far as the Eastern Conference semifinals. They were a couple Kawhi bounces away from maybe getting to the Eastern Conference finals and beyond that season. But, you know, the results haven't exactly proven anything over the last decade that they've had, you know, been trying to put this team together. And now all of a sudden it's, you know, they probably have to be sitting there going, are we going to have to hit a full reset on this? And like, you know, Tyrese Maxey is incredible. Is he like, you know, now is he the future of the franchise? Is that where they're shifting their focus? Like, all right, we'll take what we can get from Joel Embiid, but we have to build this team around Maxey. And like, are they even confident enough that Maxey can be that guy that you're building around? It's going to be one of the most fascinating situations this offseason to see what direction the Sixers try and take their franchise. But it all starts with this decision on what they're going to do with Joel Embiid for the rest of the season. And I know that, you know, everyone's joking that Podcast P is taking a break to try and make a playoff push and stuff like that. But it's like, there's no way that is the best solution. And these guys, you know, like, yes, it's easy to talk about tanking and you know, for podcasts and talk shows to talk about tanking, but like these guys are going out there trying to win games. So like, they haven't done that and it's working in their favor. But like, you know, at what point do the Sixers just pull the plug altogether? I know I saw that Maxey's been dealing with a finger injury that he can't get right. I mean, Paul George hasn't really looked right all season. Like, at what point do they completely pull the plug and just decide this is the best move for our future, is just to move on to this offseason next year?
Yeah. Last thought on that, because I agree with you. You know, for Paul George or Tyrese Maxey, you might be a little more secure, but there are guys on that team who wins and losses and contributions to wins and losses dictate the future of their NBA livelihood. So like, it's hard to tell a guy, you know, go out there and, you know, tank or whatever. Like, for those of us that think, or those of you that think that guys just go out there and just tank that easy, that's not how it works in that job world, because these guys are trying to extend their careers. And also, you want me to tank for the person to come in and take my job? No, I'm not I'm not trying to do that. And the one last figure I'll say with Joel Embiid is, I believe he just signed an extension before the season. I think the Sixers owe him about $248 million over the next 4 seasons. So regardless of what it is, they're trying to get the most out of him for the life of that contract. So even if you sacrifice, and again, I don't want to speculate too much, but let's just say it requires him missing a large amount of time, they're going to do whatever they can to get the most out of him for those 4 years that he has left. Because I think he's under contract with them through 2029, when he'll be 35 years old. So there's that.